Okay, good morning, David.
Good morning. Morning. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Fine. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, David, hi, my name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, thank you very much for reaching out to me. And the moment I did a bit of changes on the criteria of my guests for my
Okay.
podcast, and then suddenly a new stream of potential guests came up, and when you reached out, I'm like, okay, we have to get him on. So here you are. Thank you so much for that.
Well, you're welcome. I'm pleased to be here.
Likewise, the honor is all mine. So I would like to give a bit of introduction about you to our guest today before we get right into our conversation. That's all right with you.
Yes, please.
All right. So, hey everyone, we have David Toussaint here with us today. A bit of his background. After graduating from Asbury University, David taught high school chemistry, served honorably in the U.S. Army, and participated in various careers. That is until God took a firm hold on his life. Since then, he has taught finances God's way in North, Central, and South America. He has led over 50 classes, plus coached hundreds of participants. In addition to the book, When Money Gets Personal, he has written a book for young adults, Keep the Change, and a children's book, Patches, My Friend. His book, When Money Gets Personal, has also been translated into Spanish under the title Problemas en las Finanzas, Una Esperanza. It's a wonderful wife, children, and grandchildren. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much. It's it's an honor to be here, and I'm pleased to. I'm interested in your title of your podcast and how that applies.
Yeah, so, I get that a lot. So most people, when they see my podcast, is it satirical?
Well, I don't think it's
Basic.
hysterical. I think it's a serious thing because there are many people in life that feel like they're just a nothing, okay?
Yes.
Their life is worthless. They have no point in being, and so then they have no value in themselves, and so then they do stupid things to themselves, right? Because they don't understand the value of who they are and what they might be called to do.
Exactly. Wow, we align right from the beginning. I mean, so this calls for us to go into the conversation then. But before that, can you share with us, David, what was it like growing up as David Toussaint?
Well, I mean, I was I don't know if I was typical or not, but I mean, I grew up in the I'm an old guy, so I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and that's when things were simpler in the United States anyway. We didn't have the big divide that we have now. At least I didn't experience it. And so then after I came out and I was looking for here's an example of how God's moved in my life. So I have a firm belief in God and one true God, and we can talk about that, why I have that, and what evidence there is if you want. And I'd be happy to do that. But anyway,
Yes.
so I was a Christian, but I wasn't walking with God. You know, I mean, I had accepted Him, but I was doing my own thing. So here I was out of the Army, and I was a college graduate, and I was feeling like I was hot stuff. I mean, I got my act together here, you know. So
Cool.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, when you're young, sometimes you think that, right? That's whether
Yeah.
you do or not, you think that. So I decided I was going to go back into school and get a master's degree, which was a good idea in chemistry. And so I enrolled in that and began taking classes. And the solo lab work was just overwhelming to me. I mean, I just had all these hours I had to spend, end up being late at night and other times. And I said, this is not fun at all. I'm not having any fun here. And also, I was just quite surprised that in the 2 years I was in the Army, that how much chemistry that I had forgotten. I mean, I really had my act together when I went there. I knew my chemistry. I was really pleased with that. And then 2 years later, I think that's right, but I have to look it up, and it just made life a chore. So anyway, I made the decision without talking to a single soul. I didn't ask anyone for advice whatsoever. I decided, you know what? At the end of this semester, I'm just going to drop out, and I'm going to see what kind of good job I can get, and then I'm going to go do my thing. So I made the decision, but I really hadn't acted on it yet. So I was
Right.
driving back to my dormitory one day, and totally amazing to me, standing by the side of the road by his old Buick was Dr. Paul Ray, my chemistry professor from Asbury. And here he was. I mean, he was this big shot, and he was standing there. And I thought, well, my goodness, this is totally amazing. So I stopped the car and I went over and talked with him. And he said, well, hey, David. He says, and I said, what are you doing here? And he said, my daughter is just enrolled here and she's taking some classes and she's living in this dormitory right here. And I'm helping her move in. He says, why don't I take you up and you all can meet each other and perhaps support each other in your endeavors?
Right.
And for some unknowable, unthinkable reason, I said, well, thanks, Dr. Ray. That's a nice idea, but let me think about it. And I got in my car and I drove off. And later I thought that was what, because here, see, I needed counsel. This is God.
Yeah.
I thought God was providing me counsel right then.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I turned him down.
That was the message. So I often see this, like I heard it, like, do not look at the messenger, but look at the message. So it can come from anything, a radio, music, people, anything.
And here I was, 24 years old or whatever, and 23 maybe, and I turned him down, and I was so far into my own thing and not thinking about what God would want me to do, I didn't even consider the possibility that he might be having some counsel for me. And there's a proverb in the Bible, I don't know if we think about the Bible, but there's a proverb that says, Proverbs 12:15, it says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. And I was the former. And I just can't believe it.
I mean, we all,
So I look back at that, I think, my goodness gracious, did I do that? My heavens to Betsy. Oh.
So how did you turn out?
How did I turn out? Well, I mean, so my point is that if I would have pursued my master's degree, okay, and I would have taken another year and a half, whatever it was, to get that, then I would have been, instead of here, I would have been up here. I would have been going in at a higher level. And I would have been able to accomplish, I think, a lot more in life than what I have accomplished. Now, I mean, God's blessed me and I have accomplished some reasonable things, but that's the difference. And so what I did, I mean, I got a job selling prescription medicine, which was a fine job. And then I went into real estate, which I liked, and I did well in real estate. And then by then I was really focused on what God wanted me to do. And then the most significant thing in real estate that happened was that I had a number of apartments, and my big building was really looking good. I had done all this improvements. I put a new driveway in, I put new stairways in, I put new balconies in, I put new water line in, a roof. I just did all new furnaces, all new air conditioners. I just did it all. And so that property then was really looking good. And so then some guy came to the office one day and he said, hey, this property really looks good. He says, is it for sale? Could I talk to the owner? And my manager says, well, I don't know. I'll talk to. I'll call him and see. And so she called me, and I said, "Well, I'll talk to the guy, but I don't think it's for sale." So I set up the meeting, and so we talked, and he made me an offer, and I took it to my accountant, and my accountant said, you have depreciated in the taxes. In tax code, you can depreciate property, and then you have to recoup that depreciation when you sell it. But if you never sell it, then you've got one.
You're basically you're on losses.
You made all this money because you have a tax loss on your property that comes across on your income every year. And so I depreciated the property. And he said, David, you're going to owe at least half of all the money you get out of this property in taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, I can't do that. And so I said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And so he went on down the road, and then I had several employees, and if everybody did their job, the only thing I had to do basically was pay the bills at the end of the month. So I mean, I would write checks. This is back when we had checks.
Yeah, checks.
Not all this electronic
e-transfer and all those things. Yeah.
So anyway, I would write these checks, and every month when I did that, I felt like God was saying, David, are you sure you did the right thing? David, are you sure you did the right thing? Are you really sure you did the right thing? So a year and a half goes by. Okay, this was he talked to me in the summer of 2000. And so this is here now. It's December of 2000, year and a half later. And I'm still getting this message. David, are you really sure you did the right thing? Oh my goodness gracious. And so in December night and Saturday night, I prayed with my wife, Lord, if you want me to sell this property, then I need at least three things. Number one, I'm really busy and I don't have time to look for a buyer. So you got to provide me with a buyer. Number two, I wasn't paying a real estate fee before. That's 6% or whatever it is. That's big bucks. I wasn't going to pay that. I didn't want to pay that. Number three, I need an offer of at least as much as he was offering. So that was my prayer, three-pronged prayer. Okay, I need three things. So that next Wednesday, I was meeting a guy that was interested in the ministry that I was working with, Finances God's Way, and he wanted to get it going in his church. And I meet with a lot of those guys and gals, that want to get that going in church. And so I met with him. His name is Scott. And I said, Scott, what do you do for a living? He said, I own and manage apartments and I'm looking to buy more. I could have met with
Please tell me you took the offer.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I could have met with 20 people for lunch and not
that one person. Yeah.
I mean, that's a really unique person that's owned and manages apartments and looking to buy more. That's a really unique person. And so, yeah, I sold it to him and then paid the big tax. And then I had a smaller property, and that was this one had a mortgage on it, but the smaller property didn't have a mortgage on it. And so 2 years later, I'm down there. I'm working on that property because I had a problem because the maintenance guys in the big buildings every Wednesday they would come over to the small building and take care of all the maintenance requests. The big building was gone. They were gone with the big building now, right? So that
Right.
means I had to
So you're
personally
left with,
take care of the
yeah,
maintenance requests, or I had to
you're left
individually.
with nobody.
I mean, there were individual contractors that I could call, but I had to have to meet with them. They didn't have keys. I would have to meet with them down there, and it was
Yeah, you would
just a
have to
headache.
go there
It's like,
yourself.
but for 2 years I did it. Okay, so August of 2000, down there working. It was hot, and Indiana in the summertime in August is hot. I was a district manager, the ministry. I had 5 states, part of 5 states to take care of. Exhausted. I said,
Of
Lord,
course. Of course.
you want me to sell this property to provide me
It took you 5. It took you 5. How many years? 3 years? The smaller ones. So you sold them. Yeah.
There's been 2 years, 2.5 years since I
Right.
sold the property.
Okay.
But
It's
anyway,
2.5 years.
so I said, Lord, this is a Thursday afternoon in August. So I said, Lord, if you want me to sell this property and you provide me with a buyer, then I'll sell it. That next Thursday, 1 week later, 7 days, I get a call on the phone. This guy says, is this David Toussaint? He says,
Oh, look at that. That's the confirmation.
We're gonna
It's
ignore
okay. Maybe
that.
it's a call from God.
Anyway, so this guy 7 days later he
Wow,
called me.
that's God. He is here with us, David.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, he called me and he says, do you own this property? I said, yeah, I do. He says, well, my boss just bought the big property down the street from you, and he wanted to see if I could buy other properties in the area and manage them all together. And would you be interested in selling? I said, yes, maybe. Yes, I would, maybe. So anyway,
Maybe.
well, I mean, I didn't want to convey. I'll put all my cards on the table right away.
Right.
He would help me to give me a good offer. So he did, and so 2 months later I closed, and we were out. So anyway, but then just to carry the steps over. So I was making a good return on the properties that I owned. Let's see, now that I had to pay all this tax, right? And so I had to have a better than a 17% return on my money to have this standard of living. So I really had difficulty doing that, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And so this would have been now and in the throes of the Great Recession. I don't know if you're familiar with the Great Recession in the United States. So the Great Recession happened, and my wonderful wife, who was a respiratory therapist, said, well, why don't you let me get a job? And I said, as the Great Recession, nobody's hiring. I said, go for it if you can. So anyway, she put out her little...
But your wife wasn't working then?
No, she wasn't working before that.
Right, okay.
We had 2 little boys in the house, and so she was taking care of the boys.
Okay. So you're the one out working.
I was the one out working. So anyway, so she put her out on a little network, and in 2 weeks she had a job paying more than she'd ever made in her life. And then after a few wrinkles, it became the best job she ever had in life. She loved the job. For 10 years, she loved that job, and so it worked out for us.
Yeah,
so
I just got chills.
If you really devote yourself to God, and you really say, look, you are the real God. I am one of your adopted children, and so then. And I'll do whatever you want me to do. And so then you put yourself at his disposal.
He will move mountains, David.
Yeah.
He will move mountains. Okay, my story.
Please.
Let me share. Yeah. So I am 33 right now.
Okay.
So from 20s to 30s, it was my dad has always said to me, okay, study because education is the key to changing your life. I did that. Accounting. Did that. Professional qualification, yes. So I went to the corporate world as fast as I can. At 19, I think I started working as an accounts assistant and made my way up to to management position. And so at the time, it was me trying to listen or adhere to what the society tells me to, which is for you to achieve all those things. Number one, you have to achieve all those things. Again, myth number one. Myth number two is that you've got to strive so hard to get there. And then number 3, this is what you should do. Work hard. You need to work hard to build the wealth that you want to build. And I stuck by this notion for the longest time, I think. And then in between, I think around 20, I got married. And then again, had my divorce 2 years after 20. So I said to myself, okay, maybe the relationship is not working out for me. Let me just, try and put myself into work, throw myself into working. Bust my, again, just to attain that, because I was operating on the mindset that I have to strive for me to move forward until, well, COVID hit. And I said to myself at the time, the job before the one that I am in now, but I just left that job. So 2 jobs before this, super toxic, very prestigious, super toxic. So I stayed because number 1, again, operating from the mindset of fear that COVID, it's people, the tourism industry, there's very high probability of you not being able to look for a new job. So I stayed, even though it was toxic, degrading, all those things. And then 20, this thing called a therapy. So when you said your wife is in therapy, I'm actually moving into therapy myself and coaching. So I wanted that. I came across that therapy, rapid transformational therapy by Marissa Peer. And at the time, I did not process my divorce yet. So it was like just me sitting and just putting it under the rug and just move on with life. And until COVID hit and I had to sit with myself, really process whatever that went down with the ordeal. And at the same time, ask myself, do you really want to work in this environment? Because my bosses, they were really just bashing me. And actually the term "you're worthless" came during that time is because I felt like I was worth nothing. I amount to nothing, and I had these accolades, but to that point, every day it was like I felt like I was nothing. I was like dirt on the ground because of the abuse and the the abuse. I would say it wasn't because that place was toxic in the sense that you are required to be like that just to move forward. But I am not that kind of person, not like the other people. I'm often left behind for my promotions and whatnot. Yeah. So, and I was the understanding manager, and they said your way of leading is not working. It's not going to move things forward. So I think God gave me, I tried to stay, but the projects that I was put in were so terrible that at one point, I think it was actually God's way of saying, enough is enough, Nicolette. You don't kill yourself in this job. But still, I held on until I think February 2020, where it was too unbearable. And I took sabbatical leave for 2 months because I just couldn't do it anymore. So sabbatical leave, I said to God, that 2 months I was again fearful that I wouldn't be able to secure another job because I had commitments to pay, bills. But I prayed and I said, even though at the time it was from the divorce and the toxicity from that job, feeling worthless, I said to God, okay, I'm going to put my faith in you. Just show me, let me be myself. So that number 1 was be authentic in whatever that I felt, and why did I choose to leave my previous job, and what am I looking for in the next job. So lo and behold, I got 3 job offers. Number 1 was a job where 2 were from a recruitment agency. 1 was the one that I applied myself online. And surprisingly, this one was the one that paid the most at the time. And it's like there were no encumbrances in the sense that they even bought me out for 1 month. I had to serve 3 months, and they spoke to the management of the new company spoke to the partner in the company then, and they made an arrangement, okay, because it's 3 months, but because that new company was a client of this firm that I was working, so they said, okay, we're gonna release this employee to you since you're our key account anyway. So I had to serve just 1 month, and then they managed to cut 1 month off. So and that nobody had to pay that 1 month either. So it was fair and square. Yeah.
Great.
Yes. So I went in. I think this is magic, and this is just I went in, and this is another industry that I don't know of. So I'm an accountant, used to be an accountant, but I've tried several different lines in accounting. So that's auditing, accounting, debt restructuring, consulting, and joining this new company, it's a shared service center. So it's a BPO. Again, under quality. So something new to me. And they actually hired me. I guess it's because the way I portrayed myself, the authenticity that I carried. And to be honest, I felt like I wasn't worthy of the job. So, but I went in and with an open heart, open mind to learn and to do everything. So, but I knew deep down that, okay, this was like an incubation period. So I joined in 20 August, and right now, March 20, I actually, last year, I said to myself, okay, I needed a new direction. Show me what is my purpose? Show me what is my calling. I need help, because if I were to jump again to another job because this wasn't fulfilling, I don't know what's gonna amount to me. So that rapid transformational therapy, when I scrolled on Instagram, popped up. And that's when I made the decision. At the time, 21, I did not take it because I was scared. It was about $10,000. Oh my God, I'm already so scared of my current job. What if they, because I wasn't performing because of all those abuse. And 20, then the price went up to 12. And I just said, you know what? Let's just do it. I want to be my own thing, and I want to help people, whoever that's experiencing the same thing as I did, be it in relationship or in self-esteem or self-worth. So February 20, I did it. And then come March 20, we had a major reorg in the company that I'm in. Technically I'm on sabbatical again, but this time the sabbatical is the easiest, the most faith I've ever had in myself and in the divine. Wow. I was like, everybody's like, Nick, so because they had a reorg and I was asked to leave. So I was asked to vacate the role.
Wow.
So, and everybody was like, Nick, what are you going to do? And I felt deep down in my core, okay, I hear you. This is your calling. No more thinking around, Nicolette, and go do it. Go talk, go speak to the world, go share what you have to share. So right now, I'm on the last leg of my paper, on my modules, and I'm about to graduate, and I'm about to launch my own practice, therapy and coaching practice. And actually podcasting again I started it because I wanted to get used to speaking to people, American markets and European markets. I need to be acquainted. And now I love talking. So I have two things right now: podcasting as well as my new thing. And also to share, I've been invited to speak to one local radio station in New York.
Radio station,
Local,
local
yeah.
radio. Oh, great.
So I don't, it's not that I don't know, I know it. It's like the stars are aligning. It's just that I think the key for me is to just let go and let God. Surrender and ask, and you shall receive. Truly.
Yeah.
So when you said that prayer, whoever that higher power, because everybody has different belief, right? But I believe there is a higher power.
Well, so do you have a Bible? I mean, do you what about do you like the
Right.
Holy
I
Bible?
am now. Yeah. So I am now. I was raised a Catholic, but I sort of steered into spirituality right now. But I still, yeah. So, but I am familiar with the Bible. I'm also familiar with the Quran, Bible. I went into Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, Tao Te Ching, you name it, anything under sun, Eastern teachings. So, and I really, it is something that super close.
Well, can I expand on your?
Of course, yes, please do, David.
So I really appreciate everything that you said, and that you feel led by God to do things. I would just like to help you focus in on, what's the real true God? How would you know this is a real true God? And so I'll just present some evidence. And the thing that is just so obvious that people can't overlook it is the country of Israel. For example, there has never been in all of history a country that lost its people and lost its borders and never come back together again. Once a country loses its people and its borders, it's forever gone. And Israel was gone for over 1,000 years. Almost 2,000 years. There was no Israel there. Right. And so the theologians in the 18th century thought that, and God said in the end times, there will be a country of Israel. He says that. But how could there be a country of Israel? There had to be a spiritual Israel, they thought, because it really couldn't be a real country. But you and I know that in May of 1950, there became a real Israel. Right. Same location, same name, towns the same name, the same. It's going to be large by what it is, but the same. Never before in all of history has such a thing happened. Ever. So it's a huge miracle and a huge proof that Scripture is real. That what it says is real. And then And then, for example, then you take the person of Jesus. People say, well, yeah, he was a historical figure. Oh, he lived and he died, but I mean, he didn't. He wasn't the Son of God or anything like that. And so he had 12 disciples, and so one of them was known for the betrayer, and then the other 11. So he told them before he was crucified, he says, I am going to die and then be resurrected again. And they said, yeah, in the end times, that will be. They couldn't imagine what it would be. So he was crucified. Okay. We know his history documents that he was crucified. And at that time, then his disciples all hid in closed room because they were afraid, because the Jewish leaders who crucified Jesus were going to come after them.
Would go after them.
Yeah, right. And so they were hiding. Okay. And then something happened. Okay. And all of a sudden, those 11 disciples became fearless, and they went throughout the known world saying that Jesus had risen from the dead. And of those 11, 10 of them were martyred, killed for their faith, for saying that Jesus was alive. Now, people don't die for a lie. You don't die over a lie.
Exactly.
You're not going to die over it, okay? But 10 of those 11 said, and the 11th one was John, who was exiled to the Isle of Patmos. I don't know how he survived out there as long as he did, but he wrote the book of Revelation and brought it back. And the only reason he got that back was they thought that this is a crazy book. It had to be fairy tales, and so they let it pass. But at any rate. But anyway, the point is that that's just a great evidence that Jesus was the real Son of God, because he really did raise from the dead. He said he would, and he did, and the evidence. And then the miracles that happen in our lives. I mean, I just shared with you some, and you shared with me. So the point is that there's all these miracles that happen there, and there's lots of other things you can look at. For example, when they do all this archaeology in Israel, and it's really amazing that when they dig, they find something and it validates the Bible, not the other way around. It always validates the Bible because the Bible is true. And then here's another one. I don't know what you learned in school, but most people learn in school that evolution is true. We just evolved from, Darwin's theory of evolution. I don't know that we had the slime, and the slime then got together at the right temperature and the right contents and created a single cell, and then it went on from there. I mean, is that what you learned?
No, biology. We started from the apes.
Okay. You didn't
the
go
apes.
down below. You didn't go to single cell.
No, we didn't go before the apes. So
Okay.
I mean, at least what I can remember. But yeah.
Okay. Well. Anyway, when I was in school, they had started this, and then they teach it now that we all started with a single cell, simple organism, easily formed by available chemical components. Okay, it was just the slime was there, and it moved around, and
multiplied and became
a cell, and then that cell became another cell. If you do a little research, okay, and in this case, there's a book by a Dr. Ben Leahy. He's a biochemist in Pennsylvania, and he has a book called Darwin's Black Box. And in that box, in that book, he documents, and this is a quote from it. He said, "The simplicity that was once expected to be the foundation of life has proven to be a phantom. Instead, systems of horrendous, irreducible complexity inhabit the cell. Not just irreducible complexity, horrendous, irreducible complexity systems inhabit the cell." And so his point is that each tiny cell requires thousands, literally thousands, like maybe 5,000. One biochemist told me 10, as many as 10, many biochemical reactions happening constantly to keep that cell alive and help it perform. So there's just absolutely no way that it formed by itself. It's just absolutely it's ridiculous. And even Darwin shuddered at the idea of the eye, because there's 24 components in your eyes, and almost all 24 components have to be operating perfectly before you have sight. So how are all those 24 components? How are all those 24 components going to just happen to be there and help you form sight? It's just beyond capability to fathom that.
Yes.
So the point is that there's just absolutely no way that we just happened. We were created. We were created by something, and the only thing that we know that we were created, it was Jesus, and Jesus said that he created everything. They created everything, and we know that he was the son of God because he fulfilled prophecy and he rose from the dead. And then we know there are miracles happening, and in the country of Israel is a great miracle that happened. This document that he's alive and working in our society today. And so that's just, so the point is that there's no, let's take a Quran. Quran is a good book, but it was written after the Bible was written. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, they were all written first.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Quran took the information from there and developed that. And so the one true God is who he says he is, and there's plenty of evidence to document it. So that's and there's huge power that's there available to us, huge value to us. It says that you and I were created in the image of God, and he has a specific plan for us. Our job is to find out what that plan is and then carry it out.
Yes. To be human is to be the highest expression
Absolutely.
of yourself.
And then there's a real heaven, because there are people that have gone to heaven and come back and tell us that. And also there are people that have gone the other place. I used to have a friend that was a nurse. This is a true story. I used to have a friend that was a nurse, and she told me this story. And she said a friend of hers, it wasn't her, a good friend of hers, was in this room with this lady, and was very sick. And the lady had demons and everything, and she died. Okay. And the doctor went then to the family, and he was telling them that this lady had died.
Mm-hmm.
But this friend of my friends was in the room, and this lady came back to life. And she said, the devil gave me extra time. I need to talk to my husband. I need to talk to him now. And so she went out and talked to
Okay.
and so then the husband came back in, and they talked in a closed room for 20 minutes, and then the lady died again. Isn't that interesting? That just says that, there his life after death. And then this other friend of mine, just recently, her husband died, and the hospital, he had a hiatal hernia, and I don't know what all happened, but he was dying, and so they sent him home. So he lived there for about 10 days or 2 weeks before he died in her house. He came back home to their house, and he kept saying, that's beautiful over there. And she said, it's just the wall. What are you talking about? Oh, it's beautiful over there. And then he would pass out again, and then later, it's beautiful over there. So the point is that and then she realized after he died, he saw through the dimension, through the mantle, he saw what heaven was like, and it was just beautiful over there. And he would reach his hand out there. I can't believe his phone. We're just not going to take this call here. Anyway.
That's another call from the Lord.
I don't think so. Anyway, the point is that if we seek that out, there's evidence for a real heaven and a real hell. And so how we believe and how we live our life has an impact on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a huge message that we want to get out to people, because it's a big deal.
To me, David, why wait to go to heaven if you treat now as heaven? Treat your neighbor with love, treat animals with love, treat like this is already your heaven.
Well, that's a nice idea, but see, there's bad things that happen on this earth.
Exactly.
Wars. There could be we're kind of on the cusp of World War III here almost.
Yes.
There could be huge wars that happen. So the heaven is not here. We have God inside us, and so we can be at peace. Okay.
Yeah.
What we do, but it may not be heaven on earth. There's no heaven on earth, in my opinion. Heaven is up there, and hell is down there, and that's where I want to go up there. So
we all want to go there. We want to go up there.
Yeah. But there's no heaven on earth. I mean, people say, well, it can't be a God. Why is all this evil happening in the world, right? That's what they'll say. Why is all this evil happening? And there is a lot of evil, right? Terrible evil happening in this world. The reason is that God gave us a choice.
We have free will.
We have free will. And see, he wants people to love him. But you can't love him unless you choose to do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make somebody love you. I mean, I could go buy a wife somewhere in the world, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I couldn't know if she really loved me because she didn't have a choice, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So anyway, the point is that he gave us a free will, so we would have a choice to love him or not love him. Yeah. And so if we love him, then things will be better for us. But we still might die. I mean, 10 of the disciples died a martyr's death.
Mm-hmm.
Because they said Jesus was alive, they died.
Right.
And so we can't say that bad things won't happen to you, but we can say that if you're in God's will, then you're further his kingdom, and then when you die, you'll go see him and be with him in heaven. Yeah. Well, you have to have a free will to make that choice, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be. So he gave us that free will, and that's the reason there's a lot of evil.
Exactly. I mean, he made us in his image. So
We are made as him
we're,
and
yeah,
use.
we are perfect. And he even gave us free will. He's God. He could have given us like, okay, I want you to follow. I want you all to follow me. No, he didn't. Yeah. So, I mean, coming back to the Al-Quran, I mean, I don't want to beg to differ, but I've also
Go
been
ahead.
doing, yeah.
Beg to
I've
differ.
been
Let me hear
doing,
what you have to say.
yeah, no, because the Quran, I think I'm not no what do you call that? I don't study Islam to like in depth, but Malaysia is a Muslim country, but we're very diverse of our races and all those things. So the teachings that I've learned is that Islam, Al-Quran was actually, they believed in Maryam, which is Mary, and Isa, which is Jesus. So, but they did not believe that Jesus was crucified, but they said that the book was the Quran itself was never altered. So it's like whoever, so if somebody remembers from, you can have 10 people and everybody remembers from cover to cover every what do you call that, the letter jawi, we call it in the Arabic language, the Arabic writing.
Uh-huh.
And if somebody were to stop at any of the pages, one person would complete until the end because it's not altered. So, and I mean, to that sense, my view of that, there is of course some truth. I believe in that as well. And of course I grew up as a Catholic, so Jesus, Mary, everybody was there present in the picture. And I right now where I am is there is that higher power. I call it God, I call it divine, I call it that source. So I mean, because people will be listening to this podcast, right? And I have a, how do I say, it's a very varied audience. And yeah, I think, but to keep it at the baseline, I would say, just do good as how you want. Do good to others as how you want others to treat you.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah, that is my, even if somebody is not following God, is not Christian or is not Islam or anything, because I believe in whatever you put out there, it will come to you right back. So whether it's good, you're gonna get good. We put shit out there and it's gonna, excuse my language, you're gonna get the same thing.
Your karma will
Karma, yeah, it's, if the wheel is turning, it's constant. So yeah. I mean, that's my key takeaway. I'm 33 years old. Not obviously, you are much more
I'm
seasoned.
more than double your age.
Yeah, but I love this kind of conversation, and I think the world has evolved so much. But it's saddening to see that people are divided, like you said from the start of this conversation, divided because of so many agenda, politics, religion, anything. Again, God gave us free will.
He did. So what are we going to do with that free will? What are you going to do with it, right?
Woo! Yes, it's what we do with that free will. Whether you're gonna go use it that is aligned with your true purpose. And what is your true purpose?
And so then you just have to look at the evidence to decide, which way to go and what to do. So because you do have a free will, and so then you look at the evidence, and so that's so if I can promote a book here, so I have a book that's called
what is that? Yes, we were supposed to go through some questions, David. Like I want to ask about how to rebuild credit, but yeah, okay, we have 7 minutes.
We can talk to that another time if you want. But anyway,
yeah, perfect. I can even have you back on for another episode. Yes. So the book.
So we can't. So can we access it? Okay. So Keep the Change is this book called Keep the Change, and it is available on Amazon for $15. Okay. And then I also have, so this is a book for young adults. I would say people that are 16 to 26 or something like that, find their way in life. What kind of job are they going to get? What kind of job should I get, etc. And then some of the evidence is about the faith. And then for adults, I have a book called
When Money Gets Personal.
Okay.
Can you give us a takeaway, please? Like the gist of each book.
Okay. Well, the gist of this book is, I've been a coach for 30 years. And so I have all these stories. So I picked 70 plus stories that are in here, the people that had difficulties of one form or another and how they dealt with them, or how they should have dealt with them, or how they could have dealt with them, and how God would have wanted them to deal with them, their situations. And so, as the top thing says, is handling financial dilemmas in life's defining moments. Okay, that would be that nutshell. And so we talk about, what if you have no peace? Because a lot of people have no peace in this world today.
Like inner peace, like
inner peace, right? Inner peace, yeah. How do you have no inner peace? As a woman, how to regain control and get peace? Here's another one. What if you can't make your payments? Now, this applies to the United States primarily. I'm not familiar with, how all the other countries necessarily work, but this is in the United States. And how to deal with hospital bills, because they can run up really big, really fast. How to deal with Co-signing, that's a problem here. Then
Co-sign or is it the co-pay thing?
Co-signing would be like if my one of my sons couldn't buy a car because he didn't have a good enough job to
Right,
make
like
the payment.
a collateral, like a
Yeah, collateral, exactly. And so then
right.
I
Okay.
co-signed, which we don't recommend, by the way. But
Mm.
anyway, so that's a lot of that is done here. And then how to pay off your debts fast. And we call
Mhm.
it debt snowball method. So that's what this book is about. And this one that I just talked about it's about how to understand how does God want you to manage your money in the first place? How does
Can you please tell us? Like, I'm interested to know.
well,
A
well,
summary of that.
summary. Let's see.
Yeah.
That's I get nervous about summaries because
Oh, well, it's okay. Whatever that
okay.
yeah.
Okay. What was, for example, God doesn't want us to borrow, and the world says, "Hey, you go ahead and borrow; it's no problem, just as long as you can make your payments." But God says in Proverbs 22:7, "Just as the rich rule the poor, so the borrower is servant to the lender." God doesn't want you to be a servant to the lender; He wants you to be a servant to Him. Now,
Right.
is borrowing a sin? No, it's not a sin. Okay, it's not a sin, but
Yeah.
it makes life difficult. And so what you want to do is you want to borrow as little as possible and pay it off as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
people around here, I mean, in the United States, they want to buy, they want to drive a car, not just a car, a nice car, I mean, a classy car. They want to drive it. It's got all the
Yes.
bells and whistles. It does all this great stuff, and just about drives for you, some of them. And so anyway,
Guilty. I am also still paying off my cars
okay, well, anyway,
as we speak.
okay. Anyway, so how far are you from paying it off?
4 years.
4 years, you're a long way. Okay, so anyway, the point is that we recommend that you not put yourself under that burden. It's a burden, because
Yeah, it is.
if you have problems, then you could really have a problem. You might lose your car. So
Mm-hmm,
anyway, we suggest ways to do that, and that's in here. There are ways to do that. So how to deal with debt, all kinds of ways, including co-signing, and how to calculate it. What kind of emergency fund do you need? And then what about tithing to God's kingdom? Why would you want to do that? And there's a chapter on that. Well, how to be a grown-up when problems pile up, because when these kids are 16 or 20 or whatever, and they have this big problems, how am I going to do that? And then what do we do when we're betrayed? Because everybody is betrayed some way, somehow. How are you going to handle that? Right? And this is a big deal. How are you going to handle betrayal? Okay. Another one is what to do when we have an emergency, and then what to do when we need to be the change. You need to stand up and be the change. How do you do that? And then how to end well, how to ignite your potential. And I use the story of a guy, and I teach at this one home for guys just out of jail. They're prison, just out of prison, and they they've been one of my friends, he became a friend. I was in there for 40 years. 40 years.
40. Wow.
A long time.
Long time.
A long time. Right. So he didn't know how to handle money or do anything. And so when he got out, he had it together. But one of the guys, I call him Dwayne in the book here, he says, when I was 8 or 10 years old, he says, my mother died. They told me that she died of a drug overdose. He said, I don't really know, but my dad was an alcoholic. And so when I would come home from school, he typically wouldn't be there. And sometimes there was food in the house. And sometimes there wasn't. And sometimes he didn't even come home that night. And he said, so I wanted to eat, right? And so I got involved with dealing with drugs because that's the only way I could make some money in order to survive, to eat.
Put food on your table.
He was 8 or 10 years old. Okay, so he was a young kid. He said, so I mean, then he would get caught and go to jail, and then he would get out, and then he would get caught again, and finally he ended up in prison for years and years over that. So he said, how can I do God's kingdom when I was just when that was a situation? He said, how can I do that? How can I do that? And so I answered the question with some verses in the Bible. Matthew chapter 25, for example, Jesus talks about when this guy he's owner of the vineyard, and he went on a long journey. He assigned people with some tasks, and one of them he gave 10 talents, and a talent was like many thousands of dollars. He gave one of them 10 talents, another one he gave him 5 talents, another one he gave 1 talent. And so he went on this journey, and he came back, and he says, "Okay, what do you guys
do with that talent?"
They have thousands of money, right? And so the guy that had 5 talents, there's different stories. The one here is 5 talents and 2 talents and 1. But anyway, and there's another one that says 10 and 5. But anyway, so we use the story here where the 5 talent was the big guy. He got the most. Okay, so he got 5 talents, and so when he came back, his master said to him, "Well, what have you done?" And he said, "Well, I have taken your money, and I have earned 5 more talents. And he said, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I'm going to put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. So he really commended him for doing well, right? And so then the guy with 2 talents, and it says he gave them each according to their own ability. I should have said that too. He gave the 5 talents and the 2 talents and the 1 talents each according to their own ability. And so then the guy that had 2 talents, he came back and he says, look, you gave me 2 talents. I've earned 2 more. And he said in verse 23, he says, the master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. So what was the difference in the commendation between the 5 talent guy and the 2 talent guy? Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
The exact
it's exactly
same
the same.
So the point is that God gives every one of us different starting points. Some of us start way down there and really have like this guy Dwayne. I mean, he was really hurting. I mean, he started way down there. And then some people, I had 2 parents who loved me and they were trying to be Christians, and I started way up here. But Dwayne, he started way down there. And so if he comes up this far, then he's already far up, came up more than me. Okay. I started here and then I've only gone up this much, but he's gone up, way more than I have.
Exponentially.
Yeah. So God gives each one of us different starting places and different abilities and different situations. And so the question he's going to ask us is, what did you do with what I gave you? That's your responsibility. What do you do?
Ooh, I just got the chill. Everybody should. This is what people should be thinking about. Like,
that's your mission in life. What did I do? Okay, God gave me this and this and this, or He didn't give me anything. So what can I do with what little I've got?
With what you have,
Yeah. He gave Dwayne a good mind, okay, and a good body.
Yes, able.
He went through prison, but now he came out and he's doing well. He has his own business now, and he's doing well. And so that's the key right there. What are we doing with what God gave us? And so that's what this book deals with. Okay, what did you do? What are you going to do with what God gave you? And so then change the subject. Okay, so then a few years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago, at 2 in, I was awakened, and then I had this thought in my head. Sometimes you wake up and you have a good thought and you think, oh, I'm so tired, I need to remember that thought. And then when 7 o'clock comes and you wake up, what was that thought? Oh, that was a good thought. What was it? Oh, I can't remember. So I woke up and I had this children's book all in my head. Boom, it was just there. And so I dragged myself out of bed, padded down to my office, turned the light on, and sat down and started running. Because I knew if I didn't get it down then, it would be gone. Yeah. So I did that. An hour later, my wife comes in at 3 in the morning. She says, what in the world are you doing? I said, I have this book in my head. I have to write it down before I forget it. So anyway, this book turned out to be Patches, My Friend. Okay, so a little girl.
Again, God spoke through to you at those odd hours, and you just have to go out there. And
you have to go with it, right?
Yeah, you have to go it.
You have to go.
You have to do it.
So anyway, Patches, my friend. It's girls and their little girls and their horses. And they're just like this. And my sister, when she was that age, she just wanted a horse so bad. We couldn't afford one, but she was drawing pictures of it. She just wanted a horse so bad. Anyway, never did get one. But anyway, so this is Patches, my friend, and Lost and Found. And so it's a story about how she wasn't as responsible with the horse as she should have been. And so what happened, and the subtitle is How a Farmer Found a Lost Horse and How a Girl Who Owned Him Found Kindness in Her Heart and a Blessing from God. So that's a children's book. Ages 5 to 11, I would say.
Beautiful. So you covered all ages. The children, the young adults, and the adult like myself.
Like yourself, that's correct.
Wow. This is one of the interviews that I have gone not within the structure that and I had so much fun, because sometimes you just have to let things flow.
Sometimes you have to let things flow. I agree with that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Nicolette, for the interview. Thank you for the interview.
I loved it. I appreciate you very much, David. I want to ask you one question, at least some of the questions that,
ask.
Mark my that this is the trademark of my podcast. So for question for you, David, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
That's a good question. There is a real God, and our responsibility is to seek Him out and follow His plan for our life.
Beautiful. That just sums up our interview today. Thank you so much, David, for your time and for your candidness, for your honesty. I loved it.
Okay, well, Nicolette, I loved it too. So it was a win-win. It's a win-win situation, right?
Win-win. Yes,
And if you want
win-win.
to
This
do it
is
again sometime, you let me know.
yes, I will. I would wanna dig deeper into rebuilding credit, how to protect your credit, because
Absolutely.
these are actually some of the questions I'm repurposing for me, and also some questions that I'm gonna ask because I come from an accounting background, it's financial, so it is something that I'm also it's within my wheelhouse. Let's put it that way.
Sure, absolutely. Now, the only question I would have is, I don't know how things differ in Malaysia than they do in the United
Oh,
States.
yeah, that's okay. I mean, we'll converse it out. Like
Okay.
you can share with me how it is in the US, and then I can share like how it is done in
Okay.
Malaysia.
Okay, right, we'll do that.
Perfect. So, David, thank you so much. You have a great day ahead. And once this episode airs, I will let you know.
Okay.
Are we, what social media do you have?
I mean, Facebook.
Okay. Facebook. All right. Or I can drop you a message that this has been released in Spotify and YouTube and all of the other channel. And then
Okay.
you can disseminate it to your
Okay. And the books are available on
network.
Amazon. The books are available on Amazon.
Right.
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, we get Amazon here. Yes, we
Okay.
do. Although it's not big, but we do. We have, I've
Okay.
ordered things from Amazon before.
All right, good. Well,
So
thank you very much.
perfect. Thank you so much, David. You have a great day.
You have a great day too. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.